Hello, everybody.
Hello. Episode 22.
Wow.
Two.
I know.
On 5-5.
I mean, this starts on my pages, not the typed pages, but my written page. Page 479.
Wow.
And it goes through page 494.
Wow.
Think about that. I'm almost 500 pages in.
And that's about the size of a regular book. So, I mean, it's almost 500 books.
Only in a few months, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, all right. The first section is entitled Manifesting a Pathway to My Truth. What will trigger my new manifestations? Oh, this is a discussion with my guide. What will trigger my new manifestations? When you make space for them within your experience. Up until now, you've been living in a recurring dream that you believed you couldn't break out of. The details of that dream have been so embedded into your memory that they crowd out any other possibilities. As your awareness of other possibilities grows, your old expectations will begin to blend with new expectations. This appears first in your outer ring of expectations, those furthest from you, but still within your bubble of awareness. Subtle at first, these changes build until they begin to blend your next inner ring of expectations. This continues ring by ring until you feel a disorientation from your personal expectations being altered, as if the ground under your feet has shifted. You are experiencing this now and are describing it as surreally, like living in two worlds at once. It is during this time you are seeing strange occurrences that are too personal to be considered coincidences. That will continue until you can no longer deny that you are bringing them about. How are you doing this is where your current thoughts are and how you can influence the occurrences. This is your process of accepting the responsibility of the intent of your will and what it will look like externally and feel like internally. There is no wrong answer, only what you allow yourself to know. This is what I came to guide you through to start your next experience. There is much I can tell you, but it is limited by what you will accept. As you open yourself to acceptance, you will know more. And your acceptance is tied to how tightly you hold to your old expectations. You want this to go faster, but this isn't achieved by trying harder. It is a letting go process to fade the old dream enough to allow the new dream to surface. In your view, your allowance is proceeding according to a pace that will ensure the successful integration between the two. This process will go smoothest for you if you relax and enjoy your development. It will be more than worth the wait. Okay, so what are these discussions I have with you? Are they part of my knowings coming online? My guidance doesn't get you to know anything. That is your doing by allowing. These discussions only occur after you've allowed yourself, allowed you knowing on a point. I'm sorry, let me see. These discussions only occur after you've allowed your knowing on a point, and then you seek clarity on that point. Nothing said in these discussions will get you to believe something you aren't already open to allowing yourself to believe. You steer these conversations by what you are ready to discuss. Okay, so when I'm in the middle of working through a point, you don't guide me to my knowing it. When you are working through a point, there is no ultimate answer already established to give you. Your truth is what you decide to believe. My guidance is in providing clarity on other points that you've already worked through, which may assist you in working through your current sticking point. You are building your truth as you go along, so there is no truth to give you. Your truth is what you allow into your knowing. You are leaving a space where truth was a matter of consensus and a proof of the past, for a new space where truth is the direction you're traveling into the now of your future. Old truth limited the possibilities, whereas new truth opens you to them all. Your old way of knowing will morph into an acceptance of one and only one answer to a question, into a knowing that any answers to a question are relevant if you are willing to travel in that direction. Think of how your knowledge would appear today if no one had ever been willing to travel the path of knowing that the earth revolved around the sun. Until that occurred, your species was locked into a false truth that the earth was the center of the universe. The path of truth is not the closing down of questions, but the continual openness of all of them. Truth is not the solid ground of knowing, but is instead the knowing that truth is more akin to the fluid state of water. It is this knowing that you are seeking guidance to, for which I can only provide clarity along the path in getting there. The stepping from the old solid ground of knowledge into the fluid state of knowing is what is causing your current feeling of disorientation. Knowledge is the accumulation of facts, while knowing is the openness to your truth. The less you think you know, the more open you are to knowing your truth. Okay, then I'm not actually in pursuit of knowledge, but the pursuit of openness. Is that the path to my new manifestations? Openness is your pathway to everything. It is your sight to seeing all the possibilities and from which you will find your truth. Finding your way to a state of complete openness is the ultimate intent of your will to knowing you, and that path you take is your version of truth. New manifestations won't provide you anything that you haven't already found inside you, but they will show a signpost to experience along the route of your truth. Just as these discussions provide clarity to your truth, your living that truth through consciously manifesting will provide the knowing of it. Your manifestations are not the cause of your truth, but follow in the footsteps that your internal search for your truth leave behind. The cart of your living manifestations can only follow the truth of your horse. Your focus on your manifestations is you putting the cart before the horse. Okay, so I shouldn't focus on my manifestations, but on my search for truth. You are always in search of your truth. That search is your living experience. You would best be served in that search by opening yourself to more possibilities so that you can experience an increasing number of opportunities to knowing your truth. Finding truth is not a destination of knowledge, but a continual pathway of more and more knowing. Striving for truth is the worthiest of endeavors, but knowing truth is the acceptance of not having found it yet.
Yeah, that was the one I had to
That's the
had
one.
you reread.
Yeah, so that last one says, striving for truth is the worthiest of endeavors, but knowing truth is the acceptance of not having found it yet.
Because you're always in search of it. You're always
Right.
progressing a journey toward it.
Yeah, because once you find the ultimate truth, where are you?
Yeah. Back to source.
Back to source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How's it going?
All right, I'll keep going.
That one felt very, very deep. It was like a
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it'll probably sink in more when you read it,
Mhm. Yeah.
because you can stop and after each sentence and go, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that took me a while to write because it was so deep. So,
Mhm.
all right, the next one is entitled Finding Fun in Responsibility. A high-pitched screeching of excited blathering has just entered your thinking sphere, from which you cannot make one bit of sense or reason for. You reach out in thought to surround this nebulous haze of highly charged particles in an effort to calm it into some semblance of recognition. As the cloud of thought slowly begins to dissipate, you pick up a fleeting signature of its source and think, Annie? Immediately and response, the hurricane force of the nebula returns, leaving you in a migraine of discomfort. Panic pours in to attempt a takeover, but your intention of calm manifests as an eye in this raging tempest of discord. Your mounting concern impels you to gather your wits to answer this call to action. Annie, you think out to her, I need you to calm so I can see you. Concentrate on my voice, and I'll come get you. A pause follows, and then a booming, no, pierces and cascades into echoes. Okay, okay, I'll hold off, but tell me what's wrong. What happened? Another pause follows, and in it, the storm of the nebula ratchets down noticeably. Annie, what's going on? After another pause, you're blasted by a thought of, I, I, panic beginning to edge its way back in. You respond in thought, what, Annie? What happened to you? Again, pause, yet shorter, before the jet engine of her thought flares into your mind. I, I blooped. Your panic recedes, but your adrenals still juice your system. Where are you? It feels like you're now far away, you think to her. Her response now sounds tentative. I think, well, I think I'm on Mount Everest. Fighting your urge to bloop to her, you ask her, can you bloop back? Even more unsure, she answers, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be working now. What do I do? As calmly as you can muster under the after effects of your adrenal splurge, you think to her, you need to calm yourself. Your excitement has overloaded your senses. And then you think to yourself, and mine, continuing your thought to her, you think, concentrate on my voice and imagine me in my workspace. Focus on that. And then will yourself into that picture. Can you do that? I think so, she responds. You tell her, concentrate on my voice and follow the thread that leads to it. Use the image of my workspace as your guide. Can you? And then you are slammed out of your chair onto the floor as a voice right beside you exclaims, oh, thank heavens. You shake your head to regain your senses and say, now I know how that cat felt. She looks at you in confusion and asks, what cat? Velour's cat, before I learned how to pre-bloop, you answer reflexively. Her blank stare challenges your sanity. And then empathetically she responds, sorry, Christos, for dropping in this way. Did I jar your marbles? What? No. That blind bloop of yours just reminded me of how I used to bloop without seeing where I was going, which now demands your next lesson on pre-blooping. You both now finish picking yourselves up off the floor and checking for bruises, or in your case, a concussion. You inform her, we seem to be no worse for wear. Are you okay? She questions your question. Me? You're the one seeing cats. You shake your head and say, never mind that. Now that you're blooping, you need to learn how to pre-bloop. Did you just bloop to Mount Everest as your first bloop? Well, yeah, that was so cool. One second I was looking at pics of it, thinking how awesome it would be to bloop there. And the next second I was there. Where did you go on your first bloop? You sigh heavily and answer, all the way to the other side of the room I was in. She scrunches up her face and asks, why would you, of all the places you could go, why there? You intrude on her confusion to enlighten her. Annie, did you consider how you would get back? She sheepishly answers, well, I just thought I would bloop back. You shake your head and ask knowingly, and how did that work out for you? Chastised, she responds, how was I to know I wouldn't be able to bloop back? You lean forward in your seat and inform her, oh, I don't know. Maybe because I warned you about your first bloop. I told you about Valor's warning to me before my first bloop. Stay local in case you need to walk back. It's why I chose the other side of the room, because his warning hit home. And good thing I did, because I was so excited I couldn't bloop again for a few hours. She shrugs and admits, I thought you guys were, I don't know, just trying to scare me. You freeze her with a request. Annie, bloop over there, as you point across the room. She defiantly asks, why? Just do it, please, you request. She huffs and then leans forward and then cringes in concentration. After a few seconds, she repositions herself and cringes again in concentration. After a longer period of time, her confusion returns and she states, it's not working. What am I doing wrong? You settle her with one word, relax. She lets out a stream of frustrated air. You then inform her, you're not doing anything wrong. You're just disoriented and exhausted from the excitement of your first bloop. She presses you. Yeah, but I blooped back here. You provide her an explanation. I kind of sort of assisted you with that. I calmed you down so you could bloop again, even though I barely had any calm to spare after the scare you gave me. What's wrong with, oh, hey, Christos, I just blooped approach? She shrugs again. Okay, so I got a little excited. You said you did too. Yeah, but I didn't blast anyone with a bullhorn who could have helped me from Mount Everest, no less. Again, she shrugs and says, so what did you do? I tried repeatedly to bloop back with no luck. So I just walked back across the room, sat in my seat, and went into meditation. Still took me hours before I was able to bloop again, and only back, and only back across the room, all without mentally assaulting anyone. Appearing sheepish again, she responds, I said I was sorry. You nod and say, you did, and I forgive you. However, next time, I won't be so accommodating. You'll have to contact Valor if your blooping goes astray again. She exclaims, what? Why? You explain yourself. Because your abilities are your responsibility. Now that you know you were careless in your blooping, if I allow you to use me in further carelessness, I'm all but condoning it. And this undermines your sense of your own responsibility. I'm an easy solution for you, but Valor is not. With this in mind, you may want to take your responsibility more seriously. She gives you a defiant, somewhat hurtful look. You respond to that. What? Are you going to tell me that a real friend wouldn't do that? That I should support you no matter what? even if I know it's not for your highest good? Why would you put me in that position purposely? Are you counting on me being responsible so you don't have to be? Your abilities aren't the question here. It's your decisions and how you use them. This is bigger than just you and me. We're trying to build a society of responsible, sovereign beings. What kind of guides are we if we expound on the virtues of these ideals, yet we don't practice them ourselves? Not quite ready to relent, she questions you. So, where is the fun in being responsible all the time? You open yourself to this line of questioning and say, responsibility and fun are not mutually exclusive unless you define them as such. My idea of fun does not include putting other people out purposely. Having fun at someone else's expense is too high a price for me. So I found a blend of responsibility and fun that is more than worth what I gave up to have it. Fun is how you define it inside first, and then you bring it into your experience. If you define fun as risky and self-serving, then that is what you'll live in your experience. But that is only one way to define and experience fun. Opening yourself to other possibilities allows you to find a blend that is more aligned with who you want to be. The things you do are just things. They don't give you happiness or joy. You allow them to bring it out of you. Doing this in self-serving mode requires a counterbalance, a beast you must feed to pay for an offset, to pay for or offset your justification for that fun. In a more sovereign approach, you open yourself to more options, balancing your fun and its offset into a blend of activities that incorporate both. The self-serving way is like our old system of working 5 days to offset the 2 days of fun. In a sovereign society, we find a blend where the responsibility is fun every day. Just because you haven't found it yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You enjoy working with animals and you're good at it. So why not look there? Looking doubtful, she counters. What? And weave the animals? I do enjoy it, but it's, I don't know, missing something. You respond, you are weaving the animals. They don't do anything they don't want to do, but you find ways of enticing them to do things that you know are good for them. That's you negotiating with them for their highest good, which is weaving. You're changing them for the better, and they open you to a blend of responsibility and enjoyment. Okay, I'll give you that, but how does that weave into society? You point out, our society is more engaged with nature, and especially animals, than ever, since we stopped hunting and mistreating them. Now that the animals are more trusting of us, many more people are wanting to work with them. Imagine weaving those people while you weave the animals. You could expand your responsibility beyond yourself while looking for ways to redefine your fun. Who knows? You may just find that's something you're missing. You can see she's lost in thought of this. Her silence continues, so you prompt her. Annie, where are you? She shakes herself from her thoughts and says, I was just imagining sharing my enjoyment of animals with kids. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. How did you do that? You smile and answer, that is weaving, Annie. Weaving isn't getting people or animals to do what they don't want. It's getting them to open up to other possibilities and seeing what they want within them. Weavers then weave that expansion back into other areas of society to expand further possibilities with an eye on developments that could cause disruption and then guiding through them. The impetus for my suggestion to you came from my feeling of responsibility towards assisting you with possibilities that could also aid our society. And despite your initial defiance, you came to see the possibility with your own imagination. At no time during this conversation did I stop feeling a sense of responsibility. yet I still had fun watching your breakthrough. Responsibility and fun can be good friends if you introduce them properly.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of relate to that. The last aspect where he's talking about responsibility and fun and watching somebody have a breakthrough. I've seen that happen, in an engagement, and it is exciting to watch somebody have a breakthrough. It's like you didn't give them the answer. You discover it right in front of you, and it's so much fun.
Right. And all the earlier trouble with her defiance and everything, and that breakthrough and watching that breakthrough occur more than offset it.
Mm-hmm.
And those are people who are responsible outside themselves. Being responsible for things outside you doesn't mean you go do everything.
Right.
It means when you see an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
that is possibly beyond you, beyond just helping yourself,
mm-hmm.
you consider, aiding,
Mm-hmm.
helping in some way, and holding a kind of like a higher standard of help instead of just, oh, I'm going to take that and do it for them.
Right.
Like we talked about earlier in the manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming good aid workers.
I'm finding typically too, when I help, I'm learning from the person I'm helping. So it's always like something that's for me too. It ends up being something that I needed to learn or do or come in contact with as well.
Yeah, which was in the last episode, right? When Doug was, he said something about Krista said helping Doug also helped him.
Yeah, but if you go way back to almost the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I talked about, I did that little proof about actually helping someone is actually more help to the person giving help than it is the person receiving help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you really realize what you do believe and what your approach is when you go to articulate things to somebody else, and you realize how much of it you've transmuted, embodied, understand, are living when you can speak about it. Because otherwise you'll have some hesitancy when you go to assist somebody else with it.
And this also, tapped into that one episode where I talked about responsibility has gotten a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
It's responsibility shouldn't bother us. It's irresponsibility that should bother us. It's the people avoiding responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why are you avoiding responsibility? Or is there something you haven't come face to face with? Because that's blindness.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about how words have been mixed around, and like responsibility has been closely related to blame and shame in our culture, so when you say you're responsible, people, there's that sense of, there's a certain sense of blame versus taking responsibility for something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been quite a bit twisted in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain people got triggered.
Yeah, I got
triggered.
triggered.
way back when.
Several of somebody's got triggered.
Someone's when I mentioned this was way before the manifesto, and in fact this was before
we had our own channel.
Before we had our own channel, I set a few people off by talking about responsibility. They were like, well,
"You set me off twice."
I set her off twice by talking about responsibility. But we proceeded, because we did one video where I talked about responsibility, and it set one person off quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then it also set you off.
Yeah.
And then it was shortly after that we started our channel, and we were doing a video with someone else, and I started mentioning responsibility, and both of you were like, where are you going? What are you talking about? Like, this doesn't, we don't understand.
We're not somebody responsible for somebody else. It's their job to do it.
They were like,
I saw that actually.
You saw that?
I think so.
Yeah, because it was like, we're not responsible for somebody else. It's their responsibility to. We were totally not getting it. And I finally understood. After the video, we sat and talked for a while, and I was like, oh, I see. It's not the taking responsibility for somebody else, you know.
It's not taking
it's
someone else's
responsible.
responsibility. It's basically how we kind of backstop each other.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have a society where we're all afraid of responsibility and everyone, that's it, you got to do everything on your own. Well, we're all going to be reinventing the wheel, all, each of us.
Yeah.
Instead, we can backstop each other, but you decide.
Yeah.
Trouble is that we put ultimatums on people. You help me, and you help me this way, or don't help me at all.
Yeah. Or I'm going to help you, but I'm going to help you the way I want to help you.
Right.
It's both ways too.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was interesting. I can understand the responsibility from a higher thing. I mean, even in the last episode when Christos was talking to Doug about Doug's new role, and he was showing responsibility for the collective, for the community and for Doug, even though for him it was a sacrifice, could be considered a personal sacrifice, but it was his responsibility to the whole that he saw the greater good and didn't be selfish.
Whether we want to admit it or not, we're all responsible.
Yes, we are.
You're responsible for yourself, and that can be kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah, that's true.
Excuse me, but we're responsible for our pets. We're responsible for our children. We're responsible for our jobs and the work we do. We're responsible to any number of groups and
the impact we have on others by the words.
So
our output, we're responsible for what we put out.
Right.
And
So we're already responsible for things. It's just getting beyond that the word magic.
Yeah, it's the programming.
The programming that the word responsible. Who knew that the word responsible would trigger 3 people?
Yeah, and we were all women too, which I mean, usually that we feel uber responsible for everything. So it's like, it was really interesting that it triggered us all. So as we think about the feminine, and kind of rising into it, it's very interesting.
That I have to admit, that was very surprising. I did not.
You were floored.
I was floored that women would actually push back on that. If they wanted to add something, okay. Yeah. But that wasn't what was going on. It. All 3 of you were fighting it. I mean, absolutely fighting it. Yeah. Like, no, I'm only responsible for me, and that's it. I'm not responsible for anyone else. And these are all 3 mothers. These are all 3 mothers, and I'm like going, what in the? Did we just go into the Twilight Zone?
Yeah, that was quite interesting.
Yeah. So, but I think that is starting to unravel now, and more and more people are seeing, I don't know, they're getting a sense of responsibility beyond work. Yeah. Work has taken up so much of our responsibility bubble. Yeah. And that it doesn't leave a whole lot left over. So I think with everything that's been going down over the last month or 2, it's starting to kind of crack into people's perception to going, something's wrong with this equation.
Well, we can't get to sovereignty if we don't understand responsibility.
Well, there's still a lot of people. There's still a lot of people that haven't accepted the path to sovereignty. Yeah. So that needs to get out more too. But
yeah, but there's no path to sovereignty without responsibility.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, becoming fully 100% responsible for your own actions. You think about that. How many of us can say that? Right. That you don't put any stipulations on anyone else. If they help you, that's fine, but you don't expect it. You're everything you go to plan to do, you plan on, everything's on you. If it doesn't get done, it's on you, and you then can adjust and whatever. And if someone helps you and it still doesn't get done, you don't blame them. You're not blaming anyone.
Yeah, not many of us.
Not many of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really getting a clear feeling right now as I'm talking about this. There was a couple episodes ago where you talked about sovereignty was not that I'm going to separate myself from
Nope.
it's sovereignty means like you are responsible for yourself and your choices and how those choices and understanding how that impacts others.
How it cascades
how
throughout
it
society.
cascades. And that's why you can't have true sovereignty, and without responsibility and truly
That's
embody.
how I tend to be. I don't think I am 100%. I think I do. I do pretty well though. Like if something happens around me, I'm always like, what's going on with me to attract this? Like
Yeah.
why am I attracting this into my existence right now? It's all I always go back to me with everything that happens, no matter what it is. If something is going on with me to have it even being in my existence at all. So.
Yeah, and it's not to blame yourself or beat up yourself or whatever. It's to say, what is it I want to shift, or what do I need to clear?
Well, that's
what do
how
I
it
need
used to be.
Yeah, it used
That
to be.
used to-
I'm going to beat myself up and go, be mad
I
at
actually
myself.
get excited when I get uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, what's happening now? I'm uncomfortable. What is going on? Like, let me see what's gonna happen. Like, this is great. Something's shaking up here.
Yeah.
And then I usually feel really good, and I'm like, okay, now we're on a good note. And then we know there's gonna be a little discomfort because I'm always in it for the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sovereignty isn't going it alone.
No.
In discovering your sovereignty, you realize how integrated you are with everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
and that they are you, you are them. And so by helping them, you're helping yourself. So how would you want to get help?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I'm going to help them, how I would want to get help. Then I open myself to, their input,
Mm-hmm.
because I would want someone who's helping me to be open to my input.
Mm-hmm.
So you do for others what you would want done for you, but you open yourself because you would want to be, you would want the other person to be open if you were trying to help them or they're trying to help you.
Yeah.
So sovereignty is not going it alone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think it's basically pushing everyone out so you can do everything yourself. And it's like, no. Sovereignty is making us more integrated,
Mm-hmm.
so that weaving is actually much more pervasive throughout society, because we're building something greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah, and it's weaving too. What's coming to me right now is the responsibility part is what shifts it out of codependency to being, connected, networked from a sovereign being's perspective, woven together. Because the responsibility blame piece, I think, is what tags in and holds hands with codependency.
And that first part, I mean, that part was Annie when it
Mm-hmm.
first started, because she was dependent on Christos to always be there and pull her out. And so that allowed her to just wing it, which, okay, that could be good. But if you're dependent on someone coming, then you're not going to be responsible for your actions. You're going to just dump it on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any growth. You have a cap to your growth if you always have like a safety net.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if you can do anything too. You're going to question if you can actually handle something.
Right, because every time you hit trouble, you just
pull on the ripcord.
Pull on the ripcord and say, hey, help me take care of this. Hey, I'm stuck on Mount Everest. Come get me, or help me out of here.
And then you start to resent that help. And then the person who's helping you is like, why are you so mad at me?
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, dependency is addiction. And we're a planet full of addicts. And a lot of people go, no, I'm not. Okay. Well, let's look at the whole situation.
Yeah.
Let's look at all your behavior patterns and everything. And I guarantee you're addicted to something.
I'm definitely addicted to stuff.
Because I could probably name 5 things right now that would cover 99% of the population.
Oh yeah.
And you're not bad because you have it. But it's running around blind to it is doesn't do you any good. That's avoiding responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up to us. Becoming sovereign is taking it on yourself and saying, I see that now. It's up to me to
Yeah.
to do something about that dependency.
Mm-hmm.
It's not blaming someone. That's just dependent behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or giving excuses for yourself
That's
to
the
have
same
it.
thing.
Same thing.
That's the same thing. That's
Yeah.
just blame.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we've talked about this way back when, but not in the context of the manifesto. But we even our love, romantic relationships and love and stuff like that, were twisted to be codependent, and versus being two sovereign beings that are sharing a journey. So it's permeated in all facets of. I mean, when you get into really looking at codependency, you can really see it permeates through the whole of society and all of our systems right now. And I think that's what's unwinding. It has to, in order to allow us to move and create and be ourselves.
And how many people actually really like each other? They don't just need each other because they're just filling like some kind of a need within the other person. How many really just enjoy each other and want to be together,
Yeah, choose it every day.
Yeah, and that's hard to happen because one person or the other has some kind of addiction to the other person, or just has a sense of security having them around that distorts that relationship. And then you don't have a coming together of two equals.
Yeah. It's kind of like the whole "you complete me" sounds like,
that's
but it's like, oh my gosh, that's the ultimate codependent thing. It's like you need to complete yourself, and then you can be with somebody.
I know. I used to love that. Now I think of like a stalker when I hear that.
Me too. It's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I don't want to complete you. You need to be a complete person.
Yeah. I'm already complete, so there's no room for that over here.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to walk with you and play with you, and
this goes back to another episode about need.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people need that other person in their life. They really need them.
Yeah.
That is a dependency, a need.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is face our needs and understand what they are, what they're doing to us.
Yeah.
You're not bad because you have them. It's like, okay, now that you're aware of them, that you have them, are you going to take responsibility for them, or is it someone else to deal with?
Well, think about the shifting energy. We put a lot of it when you have needs and you have those addictions, whether it be food or work or whatever your addiction choice is. But you're putting all that energy toward, making sure that need is in your life. And if you didn't have that need like that, and you were whole in yourself and sovereign in yourself, that energy can be put toward wants and what you want to create and forward motion instead of the like, oh, I've got to hold myself together motion. It's
funny that what's funny about that too is like certain things I like to have on a regular basis that I can't always happen to find. I used to run out because I would need it. Now I just always want to have it, and I always have an abundance of it no matter what. It never goes away, like ever.
Yeah, because you're not putting that energy toward that.
And I'm not worried about, oh my gosh, what if it goes away? What if I run out? It's just I always know it's going to be there, and it's fine, and it's there.
So we know Jenny has plenty of toilet paper.
That's funny. The thing is not the culprit. It's your attachment and how it changes. There are people that are. I'm not going to hit on I'll hit on the other guy. There are certain people that are addicted to certain things like drugs or gambling or things that aren't so good for them. And it is amazing how much, not just the physical effort that they go through on a daily basis to get their fix, but the mental processing that they do in their paranoia that they might run out or someone might catch them, and all that energy that they're putting on in that every hour that they're awake is just imagine that being Imagine wiping that from everyone on the planet, and now they can free that to utilize it towards something, towards growth.
To me, now it's a living hell. You know what I mean?
It is,
If you
but
think about
but
that,
when you're addicted, you
yeah,
you
you
don't
don't
see
know
that.
it.
You don't
Yeah.
see your prison. You don't see
Yeah.
the prison bars.
Mm-mm.
You think that's it gives you that feeling when you get it. You're
Mhm.
feeding that addiction, and basically what it's doing is it's kicking off, some kind of serotonin release or
Yeah.
something inside your body, and it's that euphoric feeling that you're
Mhm.
feeding.
Mhm.
I used to be addicted to watching Intervention. You know, the show about addicted people.
Yeah.
Well, now that is
Wow.
that is being the kettle and the pot.
Yep. Me and Elizabeth used to watch it nonstop. It's so unhealthy.
We had to do an intervention on Jenny to watching Intervention.
I know.
You ran out of episodes, didn't you?
You finish your
Yeah,
binge
but when we
watching.
started it back up again, I didn't start watching again, so I was good.
She went cold turkey.
Mm,
Yeah, I used to watch all that stuff like Investigation Discovery. When I was pregnant with Charlotte, I would go to sleep to like ID all night long. That poor baby in my tummy listened to like Keith Morrison over at Murder Stories. No wonder she's so like dramatic now. But now I watch none of that stuff. I can't. I just have no desire to watch any of it. It's funny.
Yeah.
child abuse in the womb.
Oh,
And again, these things are not the culprits. It's
no.
us.
It's
It's
what we attach
it's
to
our
it.
behavior to justify it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what every one of us, I don't care who you are, everyone is addicted to something.
Mhm.
This planet was basically, it's not just the prison isn't a physical prison. It's
Mhm.
actually, I mean, it is in a sense, but it's really an addiction.
It's our mental stories and
Yeah.
what we
That's
do.
what the prison is
programming.
addiction.
So, interesting conversation. Yeah. Sovereignty, responsibility.
Yeah, I think this
Yeah.
conversation, this topic on sovereignty and responsibility will continue to grow,
Mhm.
to get people to flesh it out. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I do know that you can't have sovereignty without responsibility, and it's not the old timey responsibility.
No, it's pure. Yeah, and we have plenty of things to practice our responsibility and sovereignty on in the world.
Yeah, we just fill
We're
it with
being
things.
called.
We fill it with other things.
Mm-hmm.
We're either well, all of us are being responsible,
Mhm.
but at what level are we
Mhm.
blind to it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we're being responsible with developing our obstacles to responsibility. Think about how many people work hard in order to not work.
Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah, that's true. Or stand in their own way. It's like they make their tasks so much harder on themselves, and you're going like, it doesn't have to be that hard. You got this, and you can see it. I'm like, okay, you can make this difficult or you can make this easy. It's all in your head, and it is. I mean, we'll fight. I know with people I worked with, will fight to
But
tell themselves how they can't do this.
but
just
a
doing
lot
it.
of those people don't allow themselves to see it.
Yeah.
And that's where others, good aid workers and weavers, can come in with the sight and actually find creative ways of showing them, because you're not going to tell someone.
No.
You're not going to
They're
tell
not gonna
someone and
hear
they're
it.
going to change their whole life. No, they have to see it for themselves.
Well,
It's coming up with creative ways to show them.
Well, the last 2 episodes have been about that. The last one with Doug, Christos and Doug, and this one with Annie. Even though they're weavers, well, Doug's learning to be a weaver, but Annie is a weaver. She still had blocks as to what she could or couldn't do.
Yeah, she's got the weaving potential, but she is let's just say an underachiever,
Mm-hmm.
because she's still coming out from the block she
Mm-hmm.
had before they came where they are now.
Right.
And she still was that loner personality, wanted to do it herself,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, go away, let me take care of it kind of thing. But it's kind of funny because you look at it and you go, she doesn't seem like a Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the Weaver potential. We all do, but
Mm-hmm.
she can handle the higher thing. But she's kind of flipped down and gone the other direction. She's using that weaving ability on herself.
Mm-hmm. Like weave yourself in a block.
Yep.
Block yourself. Well, and Doug, his was the same, very much like that too. When he didn't see it, his was around loyalty, which is another piece. So, anyway.
All right.
Cool. Good.
I think we're
We're
done.
complete. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.